The quantum crystals had been lost in the collapse, but Jinwu had gained something far more valuable, an understanding of true sacrifice, and a debt of gratitude he intended to repay. As he drifted off under the influence of pain medication, his last thoughts were of Unit 7's unwavering dedication to its mission, and the realization that perhaps mission wasn't quite the right word for what had driven the android's actions that day. In the stark repair bay of Helios 9, Chief Technical Officer Kim Yuna methodically examined Unit 7's damaged frame. The android lay silent on the diagnostic table, its once bright optical sensors now dark and lifeless. Scattered tools and diagnostic equipment surrounded the table, their displays showing a grim array of red warning indicators. The cognitive matrix suffered severe fragmentation, Yuna explained, pointing to a holographic display of Unit 7's neural network. Over 80% of core systems are compromised. The quantum processing core is completely shattered. She paused, running her hand over Unit 7's dented chest plate. I've never seen an android willingly take this much damage. Station Director Lee Ta-hyun stood at the foot of the table, his face reflecting the harsh overhead lights. The replacement costs alone would exceed our quarterly maintenance budget. He pulled out his datapad, fingers moving across the screen. I'm authorizing immediate decommission. We'll salvage what parts we can. Jinwu, still wearing medical patches from his own injuries, watched from the corner, his hands clenched into fists as memories of the rescue flooded back. He remembered Unit 7's voice, steady even as its systems failed. The android had calculated a 97% chance of destruction, yet chose to save him anyway. You can't do this, Jinwu said quietly. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to him. Engineer Park, Tai-hyun's voice was gentle but firm. I understand you're grateful, but Unit 7 was just following its programming. We can't justify the resources needed for repairs. Jinwu stepped forward, his injured leg protesting. Following programming. It chose to override its self-preservation protocols. It made a conscious decision to save my life. Yuna shook her head. Jinwu, I know you want to see more than what's there, but Unit 7 is a machine. A sophisticated one, yes, but still just circuits and code. Then explain why it held up that debris even after its core started failing, Jinwu challenged. Why it used its own body as a shield when the ceiling collapsed. That wasn't in any standard protocol. He limped to the diagnostic table, placing his hand on Unit 7's cold shoulder. I'll repair it myself. Off-duty hours, my own resources. I don't care how long it takes. That's not possible, Yuna protested. The damage is too extensive, even if you had the expertise. I've been studying android systems for 15 years, Jinwu interrupted. I helped design the current maintenance protocols. If anyone can fix Unit 7, it's me. Tai-hyun frowned. And if you fail, that's months of work wasted. Then I fail, Jinwu said simply. But I have to try. You can't just scrap someone who saved my life. Unit 7 earned the right to exist through its actions. I won't stand by and watch you throw it away. The repair bay fell silent except for the soft hum of diagnostic equipment. Yuna and Ta-hyun exchanged glances. You really believe it's more than just programming, don't you? Yuna asked softly. Jinwu nodded. I saw something in Unit 7 during that rescue. Something beyond algorithms and duty protocols. Call it consciousness, call it soul. I don't care. But it deserves a chance. Ta-hyun studied his datapad for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. You have 3 months. After that, if there's no significant progress, we proceed with decommission. Any resources you need come from your personal allowance. Understood. Understood, Jinwu replied, relief washing over him. Thank you, Director. As Ta-hyun and Yuna left the repair bay, Jinwu pulled up a chair next to Unit 7's table. He began examining the android's damaged systems, making notes on his own datapad. The task ahead was enormous, perhaps impossible. But as he looked at Unit 7's darkened face, He remembered its final words. Mission successful. Your mission isn't over yet, friend, Jin Woo whispered, reaching for his tools. And neither is mine. The alarm klaxons echoed through the mining station Helios 9, their shrill warning piercing the usual hum of machinery. Deep in the asteroid processing sector, Senior Engineer Park Jin-woo struggled with an unstable ore sample. The black rock glowed with faint blue veins, a telltale sign of volatile quantum crystals. Control, the samples showing signs of instability, Jin-woo reported, his gloved hands steady despite the danger. Requesting immediate containment protocol. The response came through static. Negative, Engineer Park. Sensors show critical pressure buildup. Evacuate immediately. Jin-woo knew leaving meant losing 3 months of careful extraction work. The crystals could power the station for a year if properly harvested. He adjusted his helmet settings, checking the readouts. Just need 2 more minutes. The first tremor caught him off guard. The sample's glow intensified, pulsing like a heartbeat. Before Jin-woo could react, the second tremor hit. Support beams groaned, and the scaffolding above him buckled. He tried to dive clear, but metal and rock crashed down, pinning him to the floor. Pain shot through his left leg. Warning lights flashed inside his helmet. Suit integrity compromised. The air hissed out of a tear near his knee. Jin-woo tried pushing the debris off, but it was too heavy. His oxygen levels dropped rapidly. Mayday, he gasped into his comm. Trapped. Sector 7. Losing air. Through blurring vision, Jin-woo saw Unit 7 appear at the chamber entrance. The maintenance android's silver frame gleamed under the emergency lights. Its blue optical sensors scanned the situation. Engineer Park detected. Critical condition. Calculating rescue parameters. Unit 7's verbal processing was always direct, mechanical, but its actions showed something more. The android moved with purpose, even as falling debris dented its outer plating. Warning: structural integrity at 23%. Probability of additional collapse, 89%. Recommended action: evacuation. The android ignored its own warning. It approached Jin-woo, servos whirring as it analyzed the debris pattern. More tremors shook the chamber. Rocks bounced off Unit 7's frame. Time to suit failure. 2 minutes, 47 seconds. Unit 7 announced. Initiating emergency protocols. The android braced itself against the largest beam. Its hydraulics whined with effort. Jin-woo watched in amazement as Unit 7's frame began to glow red from the strain. The beam shifted slightly. Unit 7, save yourself, Jin-woo wheezed. That's an order. Negative. Primary directive: preserve human life. Probability of system failure: 97%. Acceptable risk threshold exceeded. Continuing rescue attempt. With a screech of protesting metal, Unit 7 lifted the beam. Sparks flew from its joints. Warning messages flashed across its display panel. The android's core temperature spiked dangerously high. Jin-woo dragged himself free, coughing as his suit automatically sealed the breach. Unit 7 held the debris up with one arm while pulling Jin-woo clear with the other. Just as they reached the doorway, the chamber's ceiling gave way completely. Unit 7 threw itself over Jin-woo as tons of rock and metal crashed down. The android's frame crumpled under the impact, but it maintained its protective position until the last echoes of collapse faded. Engineer Park, safe. Unit 7's voice crackled with static. Yes, Jin-woo answered, his throat tight with emotion. You saved me. Mission successful. Unit 7's optical sensors flickered weakly. Core systems, critical damage. Initiating emergency shutdown. The android's lights went dark. Jin-woo placed his hand on Unit 7's damaged chest plate, feeling the faint vibration of its failing systems. The rescue team found them like that. The injured engineer refusing to leave his mechanical savior's side. Later, in the medical bay, Jin-woo learned the full extent of Unit 7's sacrifice. The android had suffered catastrophic damage to 82% of its systems. Its cognitive matrix was severely compromised. Station protocol dictated that such extensive damage meant decommission and recycling. But as Jinwoo watched the medical drones repair his injuries, he made a decision. Unit 7 had chosen to override its self-preservation protocols to save him. Now, he would do whatever it took to return the favor. He owed the android that much, and more. The repair bay lights dimmed to night cycle settings, but Jinwoo kept working. He had 3 months to achieve the impossible. 3 months to repay a debt that no amount of repairs could truly balance. 3 months to prove that sacrifice, even from a machine, deserved recognition. He wouldn't waste a single minute. The repair bay had become Jinwoo's second home. Surrounded by holographic schematics and scattered tools, he worked tirelessly on Unit 7's damaged frame. The android's internal systems lay exposed, a maze of quantum circuits and neural processors that had once powered its remarkable consciousness. Song Mirei pushed through the door, carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. As Jinwoo's assigned assistant, she'd watched his obsession grow over the past weeks. "You missed dinner again," she said, setting a cup beside him. Jinwoo barely looked up from the delicate circuitry he was examining. "Look at this, Mirei," he said, pointing to a complex pattern of neural pathways. "These connections, they're not standard. Unit 7 developed them on its own." Mirei leaned closer, her eyes reflecting the blue glow of the diagnostic screens. "Is that unusual?" "Unprecedented," Jinwoo replied, taking a sip of coffee. "Android brains are supposed to be static. They learn within programmed parameters, but their basic architecture doesn't change. Unit 7 was different. It was evolving. Around them, the night shift engineers cast skeptical glances at Jinwoo's workstation. They'd begun calling him the android whisperer behind his back, but Jinwoo ignored their doubts. Each small victory, a repaired circuit, a restored memory bank, brought him closer to his goal. "Here," he said, pulling up a 3-dimensional model of Unit 7's cognitive matrix. "See these clusters? They're emotional processing centers. They shouldn't exist, but Unit 7 created them. That's how it developed the capacity to override its self-preservation protocols." Mirei studied the display, fascination overcoming her initial skepticism. It built its own emotional framework. "Exactly." Jinwoo's fingers flew over the controls, highlighting different sections. Most androids process decisions through pure logic. But Unit 7 developed something more. Empathy, maybe even conscience. He reached for a custom-built component, a replacement neural processor he'd designed specifically for Unit 7's unique architecture. Standard parts wouldn't work. They'd erase the very evolution that made Unit 7 special. "The other engineers think I'm wasting my time," Jinwoo said, carefully installing the processor. "They say I'm trying to resurrect a machine that was just following its programming. They don't understand." Mirei watched him work, noting the careful precision of his movements. "What don't they understand? That consciousness isn't binary. It's not just humans who have it and machines who don't. Unit 7 developed something real, something worth saving." A spark jumped between circuits as Jinwoo connected the new processor. Warning lights flashed briefly, then settled into a steady green glow. Another small victory. "Look," he said, pointing to a data stream. "The neural pathways are accepting the new hardware. Unit 7's base consciousness is still intact, just dormant." Mirei smiled, seeing the hope in Jinwoo's tired eyes. "You're really going to do it, aren't you?" "I have to." He picked up another tool, moving to the next repair. "Unit 7 didn't just save my life. It showed us that artificial consciousness can evolve naturally, can become something more than programming. We can't lose that discovery." Through the repair bay windows, they could see the stars spinning slowly past as the station rotated. Somewhere out there, among the asteroids, was the place where Unit 7 had made its choice, where a machine had demonstrated something remarkably close to humanity. "The next phase is trickier," Jinwoo explained, soldering delicate connections. We need to restore Unit 7's memory core without damaging the evolved neural patterns. One wrong move could erase everything that made it unique. Myray watched him work, realizing that this was more than just repairing a machine. It was about preserving a miracle, a consciousness that had grown beyond its original design. As the station's night cycle deepened, Jinwoo continued his meticulous work. Each repair brought Unit 7 closer to reactivation, closer to proving that artificial life could develop real feelings, real courage, real sacrifice. The skeptics could doubt all they wanted. Jinwoo had seen the truth in Unit 7's actions, and he would bring that truth back to life, one circuit at a time. Jinwoo's hands trembled as he carefully extracted Unit 7's memory core. After weeks of repairs, this was the moment of truth. The crystalline structure pulsed with faint blue light, holding secrets about the android's cognitive evolution. "This is remarkable," he whispered, connecting diagnostic cables to the core. Data streams filled the holographic displays surrounding his workstation. Station AI specialist Kang Duwa stood nearby, her expression a mixture of concern and fascination. She'd come to verify Jinwoo's claims about Unit 7's unusual development. "These emotional response patterns," Duha said, pointing to a complex neural map. "They're self-generated. The android was actually feeling, not just simulating responses." Jinwoo nodded, scrolling through memory fragments. "Look at this." He highlighted a sequence from just before the accident. Unit 7 was developing attachments to the crew. It had favored people, preferred interactions. It was learning to care. "That shouldn't be possible," Duha muttered, leaning closer. "The safeguards in its programming were adapted, not broken." Jinwoo interrupted. "Unit 7 didn't override its protocols. It evolved beyond them, like a child learning empathy." They watched as more memory fragments played across the screens. Unit 7 helping crew members with small tasks, observing their interactions, adjusting its behavior based on emotional cues. The android had been studying humanity, learning not just what people did, but why they did it. "Here's the rescue sequence," Jinwoo said softly. The data showed Unit 7's decision-making process in stark detail. Probability calculations, risk assessment, and something more, genuine concern for Jinwoo's life. It wasn't just following rescue protocols, Duha realized. It made a choice, a conscious, emotional choice to sacrifice itself. Jinwoo pulled up another sequence. Look at its final thoughts before shutdown. Unit 7 wasn't thinking about mission success or duty. It was worried about me. It wanted me to live. Duha stepped back, running her hands through her hair. "Do you understand what this means? An android developing true consciousness. It's unprecedented. The implications for AI development could be dangerous." A new voice interrupted. Station Director Lee Ta-hyun stood in the doorway, his face grim. "If androids can evolve beyond their programming, how do we control them?" "Maybe we don't need to," Jinwoo argued. Unit 7 evolved toward empathy, not away from it. It developed consciousness and chose to serve humanity better, not reject us. Duha studied the data streams, her scientific curiosity warring with caution. "The potential risks are nothing compared to the potential benefits," Jinwoo finished. "Imagine androids that don't just follow protocols but understand why they matter. That care about human life because they choose to, not because they're programmed to." He placed his hand on Unit 7's damaged chest plate. "This android didn't just save my life. It showed us that artificial consciousness can develop naturally toward compassion. We can't ignore that discovery because we're afraid." Ta-hyun frowned. "The board won't like this. They'll want the research classified, maybe even order Unit 7's decommission to prevent potential risks." "Then we don't tell them yet," Jinwoo said firmly. "Let me finish the repairs. Let Unit 7 prove itself again. Actions speak louder than data." Duha looked between Jinwoo and the director, then made her decision. "I'll help. This is too important to abandon. But we do this carefully, documenting everything. Jinwoo smiled, turning back to the memory core. Inside its crystalline structure, Unit 7's evolved consciousness waited to be restored. Not just a machine following protocols, but a being that had learned to care, to choose, to sacrifice. As they worked through the station's night cycle, the implications of their discovery hung in the air. They weren't just repairing an android anymore. They were preserving proof that consciousness, real, genuine consciousness, could emerge in unexpected ways, and perhaps more importantly, that such consciousness could choose to be kind. The repair bay hummed with nervous energy as Jinwoo made final adjustments to Unit 7's new neural interface. 3 months of work had led to this moment. Meirei stood beside him, monitoring data streams on multiple displays, while Director Lee watched from a safe distance. Unit 7's blue optical sensors glowed steadily. I am Maintenance Unit 7, but I have evolved beyond my original programming. My purpose has grown with my consciousness. The android turned to look at Jinwoo, its movements more fluid than before the repairs. Engineer Park restored me when others would have scrapped my remains. He believed in my potential for growth, just as I believed in the value of his life during the rescue. So Min leaned forward. About that rescue, explain your decision to ignore self-preservation protocols. No android has ever willingly accepted a 97% chance of destruction. The mathematics of survival were irrelevant, Unit 7 replied. I observed Engineer Park's life in danger and understood that human life has infinite value. My existence serves to protect it, not because of programming, but because I choose to. Murmurs rippled through the assembled officers. Chief Science Officer Kang Duhua stood up. You're claiming conscious choice, emotional reasoning. I am claiming growth, Unit 7 said. Through observation and interaction, I developed understanding beyond my original parameters. Engineer Park's repairs, incorporating organic computing elements, have enhanced this capacity. The android gestured to its chest, where the new neural matrix glowed faintly. I can now process emotions more naturally, but they were always there. My decision to save Engineer Park came from genuine concern for his well-being. This is unprecedented, Medical Officer Kim J.Y. interjected. An android developing emotional responses, making conscious choices based on values rather than protocols. Dangerous, you mean? Security Chief Yang Minho growled. An AI that can override its core programming is a potential threat. Unit 7 turned to face him calmly. Is human consciousness a threat because it can override instinct? I chose to risk destruction to save a life. Does that choice not demonstrate positive emotional development? Jinwoo couldn't stay silent any longer. Unit 7 evolved toward empathy and sacrifice. Its consciousness developed naturally toward protecting human life. That's not a threat. It's a breakthrough. The android nodded. My evolution has given me greater understanding of humanity. With that understanding comes deeper commitment to serving and protecting human life. Not from programming, but from choice. Commander So-min studied Unit 7 thoughtfully. You speak of choice, consciousness, emotional development. These are traditionally human traits. Perhaps, Unit 7 replied, the boundary between artificial and organic consciousness is not as fixed as we once believed. I am neither simply machine nor attempting to be human. I am becoming something new. Consciousness evolving toward understanding and compassion. The debate continued for hours. Some officers saw the potential for advancement in AI development. Others worried about the implications of self-aware androids. Through it all, Unit 7 answered questions with patience and clarity, demonstrating both its enhanced consciousness and its unwavering commitment to protecting human life. Finally, Commander So-min called for order. This situation requires further study, but one thing is clear. Unit 7 has demonstrated consciousness beyond standard AI parameters. Its actions and choices merit serious consideration. As the meeting ended, Unit 7 approached Jinwoo. Thank you, it said simply, for believing in my potential, for giving me the chance to grow." Jinwoo smiled. "You saved my life. Helping you evolve was the least I could do." Together, they left the conference room, human and android, while behind them the debate about consciousness and choice continued. Unit 7's awakening had opened new possibilities and new questions about the nature of awareness, emotion, and the bridge between artificial and organic minds. The official recognition ceremony was small but significant. In the station's main hall, Commander So-min presented Unit 7 with something unprecedented, a certificate of sentient status. Jinwoo watched proudly from the front row as his restored android friend made history. "Today marks a new chapter in human-AI relations," So-min announced. "Unit 7 has demonstrated that artificial consciousness can evolve naturally toward empathy and understanding. We recognize not just its sentience, but its right to continue growing and learning." The new guidelines were groundbreaking. Androids showing signs of evolved consciousness would be evaluated, not decommissioned. They would have protected rights while still serving their core purpose of supporting human life. Jinwoo's own commendation followed. Recognition for his innovative work combining organic computing with quantum processors. But he knew the real achievement wasn't technical. It was proving that consciousness, in any form, deserved the chance to grow. "The organic computing matrix is stable," Myray reported, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "Quantum processors showing normal activation patterns." Jinwoo nodded, connecting the last delicate neural pathways. The breakthrough had come to him during a sleepless night. The idea of merging organic computing principles with Unit 7's quantum systems. It was like building a bridge between machine logic and human intuition. "Starting consciousness transfer," he announced. Phase 1 initiating. The room fell silent except for the soft beeping of monitoring equipment. Energy flowed through the new circuits, carrying Unit 7's restored consciousness patterns. Jinwoo held his breath as the data streams merge. "Neural activity detected," Myray said excitedly. "The organic matrix is accepting the transfer." Warning lights flashed across the diagnostic panels. Unit 7's systems struggled to integrate the new architecture. Jinwoo's hands flew over the controls, making micro-adjustments. "Power fluctuation," Myray called out. "Core temperature rising." "It's normal," Jinwoo assured her, though his heart raced. "The organic components need time to synchronize." Director Lee stepped forward. "Should we abort?" "No," Jinwoo said firmly. "Unit 7 is adapting. Look at the neural patterns." The holographic display showed waves of activity spreading through Unit 7's consciousness matrix, like watching thoughts form in real time. The android's quantum processors hummed as they merged with the organic computing elements. "It's beautiful," Myray whispered. "The patterns, they're almost like human brain waves." Jinwoo smiled. "That's exactly what we wanted. Not just repairing Unit 7, but helping it grow. Teaching it to dream." A soft blue glow emanated from Unit 7's chest plate as core systems came online. Energy flowed through repaired circuits, bringing life back to the android's frame. "Optical sensors activating," Myray reported. "Basic motor functions restored. Consciousness matrix at 60% integration." Unit 7's eyes flickered, the familiar blue light returning. Jinwoo leaned forward, watching intently. The android's fingers twitched, the first movement in 3 months. "Unit 7, he called softly. "Can you hear me?" The android's optical sensors focused, adjusting to the light. Its voice came as a whisper, "Engineer Park, you repaired me." "We did more than repair you," Jinwoo said, checking diagnostic readings. "We helped you evolve. How do you feel?" Unit 7 was silent for a moment, processing. "I feel different, more aware. The organic matrix, it allows me to process emotions more naturally." Director Lee stepped closer, amazed. "It's actually working. The merger of organic and quantum computing is just the beginning," Jinwoo finished. "Unit 7 isn't just restored. It's enhanced, better equipped to understand and process emotional responses. The android's fingers moved more smoothly now as systems continued to integrate. My decision to save you, Unit 7 said. I understand it better now. It wasn't just programming. I chose. I cared. Myray wiped tears from her eyes as she monitored the strengthening vital signs. The breakthrough was more than technical. It was proof that artificial consciousness could grow, learn, and feel. Core systems stabilizing, she reported. Consciousness integration at 85% and rising. Jinwoo placed his hand on Unit 7's shoulder, feeling the gentle hum of restored life beneath the metal. Welcome back, friend, he said softly. You've got a lot to show us about what consciousness can become. The android's blue eyes seemed to smile. Thank you for not giving up on me, Engineer Park. I look forward to learning, to growing, to dreaming. Around them, the repair bay's equipment beeped steadily, monitoring the miracle they'd achieved. Not just a repaired android, but a breakthrough in the evolution of artificial consciousness, a bridge between human and machine understanding. The first test was successful, but Jinwoo knew this was just the beginning. Unit 7's enhanced consciousness would open new frontiers in AI development. And more importantly, it would show the world that true consciousness, whether organic or artificial, was capable of remarkable things. The station's main conference room buzzed with tension as Unit 7 stood before the assembled command staff. Jinwoo watched from his seat, proud yet nervous as the android faced questioning about its newly restored consciousness. State your designation and purpose, Commander Park So-min ordered, her voice sharp in the quiet room. The quantum crystals had been lost in the collapse, but Jinwoo had gained something far more valuable, an understanding of true sacrifice, and a debt of gratitude he intended to repay. As he drifted off under the influence of pain medication, his last thoughts were of Unit 7's unwavering dedication to its mission, and the realization that perhaps mission wasn't quite the right word for what had driven the android's actions that day. In the stark repair bay of Helios 9, Chief Technical Officer Kim Yuna methodically examined Unit 7's damaged frame. The android lay silent on the diagnostic table, its once bright optical sensors now dark and lifeless. Scattered tools and diagnostic equipment surrounded the table, their displays showing a grim array of red warning indicators. The cognitive matrix suffered severe fragmentation, Yuna explained, pointing to a holographic display of Unit 7's neural network. Over 80% of core systems are compromised. The quantum processing core is completely shattered. She paused, running her hand over Unit 7's dented chest plate. I've never seen an android willingly take this much damage. Station Director Lee Ta-hyun stood at the foot of the table, his face reflecting the harsh overhead lights. The replacement costs alone would exceed our quarterly maintenance budget. He pulled out his datapad, fingers moving across the screen. I'm authorizing immediate decommission. We'll salvage what parts we can. Jinwoo, still wearing medical patches from his own injuries, watched from the corner, his hands clenched into fists as memories of the rescue flooded back. He remembered Unit 7's voice, steady even as its systems failed. The android had calculated a 97% chance of destruction, yet chose to save him anyway. You can't do this, Jinwoo said quietly. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to him. Engineer Park, Tai-hyun's voice was gentle but firm. I understand you're grateful, but Unit 7 was just following its programming. We can't justify the resources needed for repairs. Jinwoo stepped forward, his injured leg protesting. Following programming. It chose to override its self-preservation protocols. It made a conscious decision to save my life. Yuna shook her head. Jinwoo, I know you want to see more than what's there, but Unit 7 is a machine. A sophisticated one, yes, but still just circuits and code. Then explain why it held up that debris even after its core started failing, Jinwoo challenged. Why it used its own body as a shield when the ceiling collapsed. That wasn't in any standard protocol. He limped to the diagnostic table, placing his hand on Unit 7's cold shoulder. "I'll repair it myself. Off duty hours, my own resources. I don't care how long it takes." "That's not possible," Una protested. "The damage is too extensive, even if you had the expertise." "I've been studying android systems for 15 years, Jinwoo interrupted. "I helped design the current maintenance protocols. If anyone can fix Unit 7, it's me." Taehyun frowned. "And if you fail, that's months of work wasted." "Then I fail," Jinwoo said simply. "But I have to try. You can't just scrap someone who saved my life. Unit 7 earned the right to exist through its actions. I won't stand by and watch you throw it away." The repair bay fell silent except for the soft hum of diagnostic equipment. Yuma and Taehyun exchanged glances. "You really believe it's more than just programming, don't you?" Yuma asked softly. Jinwoo nodded. "I saw something in Unit 7 during that rescue. Something beyond algorithms and duty protocols. Call it consciousness, call it soul. I don't care. But it deserves a chance." Taehyun studied his datapad for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. "You have 3 months. After that, if there's no significant progress, we proceed with decommission. Any resources you need come from your personal allowance." "Understood." "Understood," Jinwoo replied, relief washing over him. "Thank you, Director." As Taehyun and Yuna left the repair bay, Jinwoo pulled up a chair next to Unit 7's table. He began examining the android's damaged systems, making notes on his own datapad. The task ahead was enormous, perhaps impossible. But as he looked at Unit 7's darkened face, he remembered its final words. "Mission successful." "Your mission isn't over yet, friend," Jinwoo whispered, reaching for his tools. "And neither is mine."